Right now, guys, we are going to move on to a segment here.
I'm going to talk dirty to you for a second. Math.
Double D's, sexy numbers. What do you have for us this week, sir?
All right, so it's the beginning of April, and we just concluded our March forecast last week. Even though we didn't have a show, there was still a segment that I put on our Facebook group and on the Facebook group. But this time, it's my April forecast. So let's start off with the Dungeon and their forecast for the month. So we can see that the most amount of points that they can earn this month is 41 points, and they could actually drop down to 10 points, but I will predict that they'll be somewhere between 15 and 36 points. Moving on to the Quirky Mercs. Vinstock Exchange. I'm sorry, Vinstock Exchange. Yeah, Vinstock Exchange can have a high of 31 points. They can also drop down to 1 point, but I will predict that they'll be somewhere between 25 and 7 points. Moving on, again, I forgot. You're going to have to do this by myself. Okay, so Usual Suspects. The Usual Suspects have the least amount of points that they could earn for the month. So their high is going to be low compared to everyone else's. They can only earn as much as 19 points. They can also drop down to 4 points. But I'll predict that they'll probably be somewhere between 7 and 16 points. Moving on to the Den, their high is they can get as much as 22 points. They can drop down to as low as 2 points, and I'll probably predict that they'll most likely end up somewhere between 6 and 18 points. Moving on to the next one is Swag. Swag can earn up at as much as 28 points. They can drop down to as 2 points, and I predict that they'll be somewhere between 6 and 24 points. Moving on to the Usual Suspects, they can get as much as 32 points. They can drop down to 1 point if they get some
Quirky Marks. We already did Usual Suspects. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Quirky Mercs. Quirky Mercs. The Quirky Mercs. The Quirky Mercs can be as high as 32 points. They can drop down to 1 point, but I'll predict that they'll be somewhere between 6 and 27 points. Moving on to the Stars, they're the only faction that actually has can get as low as a negative score, and they can gain some ground with a high score of 32 points, but they'll probably end up somewhere between 4 and 27 points. And finally, Corruption, and I knew that one. They can end up with drop down to 0 points. They can be as high as 27 points, but they'll probably end up somewhere between 4 and 23 points. And that'll conclude my my forecast. So what do you think, Dan?
I have one suggestion in maybe putting the middle mark of those the possibility of points, because the low end is what we're at, and
yes,
assuming parity in the league, it would be nice to have an average possible points, and so that would be about the mid mark.
There's not enough data because this is the second season that we've had factions.
That's why I was saying just mid, because assume parity where it's not there.
Yeah, but it's even my last week's the results of last week's. You can definitely see that there's a big disparity between especially the low end, like Corruption or the Stars. They were very low, but I had them within a certain range. But once we get closer to the tournaments, you're going to see that's going to be disappearing really quickly, because if you were to track it every single week, because obviously the points would actually shrink a lot more quickly.
Yeah, and also people will be awarded less matches as their players drop out of tournaments, so it'll be easier to mark 3 factions versus 8. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just very tough to sometimes like look through the graphs and do the math in your head of like, okay, so how many championship matches is that, and possibilities for large point swings, and
Actually, I have that all on a spreadsheet, and it feeds into.
yeah,
I sorted everything out, and I just kind of summed it all up, making my life even easier.
yeah.
So,
Well, what I
the
did,
only thing I have to manually do is the current champions and awarding that the defense title. That's the only manual thing I have to do. But once I find out how many title matches there, all I have to do is hit one. And
yeah. And for anyone listening, like a great way to look at it is I could tell by how many negative points are possible. That's how many matches that faction is going to play
exactly.
that month.
But interesting enough, there's no negative scores with free for all, which I failed to mention. This does include a free for all results.
Yeah.
So there's 5 potential people that could actually score the MVP award. So there's 3 points there and no points awarded to the winner. So there's that factor in as well. But it's only awarded to the MVP and not the winner. So you have to kind of take that into consideration as well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I can definitely see which faction was it that's only got the 3 matches this month? That
would be the usual suspects.
Yeah,
they have like 3 matches, and it's like, yeah, that's not that includes the free for all, the free for all award. So it's yeah, they have the least amount. They can't afford to lose any points this season because they're going to be very behind compared to everyone else. If people continue to win.
The one strategy to that is you only have 3 matches to focus on, and so you're only training those 3 people, and I don't know exactly what the matches are. They're probably multi-divisional, but
yeah, one is Stacey Howard with I think with Kevin Smith.
Yes.
Going down the list, usually Drew McWeeny is the other one.
Yeah, playing Lon Harris, one of my most anticipated matches of next month.
And I can't find. The other one was Paige Ferretti, but so they actually won that match.
Okay.
So they're on a good track, but can they continue to win?
No, they lost that match. Peggy won.
Peggy won. I'm sorry. So yeah, they already. I'm sorry. Again, I had a video already made up. So yeah, Paige lost that match. So yeah, they are actually lost 3 points to that forecast. So they need to actually bank on the free for all and the other 2 matches that they have.
You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.